Okay, so the next seam finish we're going to talk about is an actual French seam. I show a fake French seam, but this is the real deal. Now, a French seam is very different in that it's the only seam finish that you do completely reverse from others. So on every other seam finish we do, we put the right side to the right side, sew, and then open, okay, so that's our clean, neat edge. So this one's a little tricky because it's confusing because you're actually on this one going to start wrong side to wrong side. So the pretty side of your fabric is going to be on the outside this time. Now, I've told you before that a 5/8 inch seam is pretty standard in most sewing, and we're going to use that for this as well. However, we're going to do this in 2 stages. So we're going to have to figure out the math of what 2 stages we can do to equal 5/8 of an inch. So the first step is we're going to sew at 1/4 or 2/8 of an inch, which leaves us 3/8 of an inch to come back for the second pass, okay? This machine with either this foot or foot A, using this outside edge of the foot is going to be right at 1/4 of an inch if your needle is in its middle position. So we're going to use the edge of the foot to make sure we're staying where we need to go. So this time I'm going to take my fabric and I'm going to line my edges up. For this, they need to be really super neat with my wrong sides together. I'm going to put in the machine so that the edge, the fuzzy edge of my fabric is right there on the edge of the foot. Drop my needle, and I'm going to stitch just like I have stitched every other seam with the stitch, back stitch, but I'm going to stay so that that fuzzy edge that I'm trying to encase is right on the edge of that foot. Okay. Now, as soon as I have sewn that 1/4 of an inch, I'm going to give myself a little bit of leeway because I'm going to go ahead and trim 1/8 of an inch, or I'm going to try to cut this seam about in half, and I'm going to trim about half the width of what's left over, and that's just going to make sure, number one, that I don't have any fuzzies that try to stick through, and number two, that what I sew is going to get completely encased on the inside. So trim, and then the next thing I have to do is head to the ironing board. So just like every other seam we've done, we're going to book our seam or iron it open, except this time we have this tiny little seam allowance to iron open. So utilize your fingers, keep them from getting burned, and utilize the tip of your iron. Now it looks a little weird this time because we're used to seeing the back side of the fabric when we do this, and now obviously this side we have done things a little bit inside out. Maybe Melissa will be nice and fast forward through me doing this, but just know that you need to get this seam ironed open, and I'll catch you when I'm done. Now I have my seam booked open, but it's on the wrong side. Like this would be the outside of my garment. So the next step is you're going to take your fabric and you're going to fold it over, and you need to be very precise at this, that you fold it over so that you are right on that edge. Okay, so again, this is not the fastest seam finish, but it is one of the prettiest when you get it done correctly. So you're going to go back and iron this so that those stitches you can just see are in that little groove down the side. You have to be positioned correctly or your seam will twist and it won't look very nice. So okay, now once we've got that done, you should be able to see those little stitches really closely. If you look really closely, you should be able to see them right down the edge, and we're going to go back to the sewing machine. Last time we stitched on 1/4 or 2/8 of an inch. The rest of our 5/8 of an inch or 3/8 of an inch is now what we're going to stitch here. Now I'm going to tilt the machine forward just so you can see just a little bit that there's a line right here that says 10 that, pretty closely lines up with 3/8 of an inch. So that line is going to work to our advantage. So as we feed our fabric in, we're going to use that line as our edge of our fabric as we stitch. So same technique as always, get your fabric positioned, use that 10 line, drop your needle where you want it before you stitch, drop your foot forward, backwards, forwards. Use that 10 line to stay straight. Just like steering a car, you want to stay in your lane. Back stitch. Now I can lift my needle to its highest position, pull out and clip, and well, I didn't want to clip, there it goes. And now you see that we have, this is what the inside of your garment now looks like. Very clean, neat, nice, professional. And when you turn over to the outside, there are no little fuzzies and no little raw edges. And that is a traditional French seam. Now, if you wanted to, you could do smaller. You could go and do a 1/2 inch and then do your divisions of how you're going to do your 2 lines. But 5/8 is a good start, and you can always, as you practice, get better and make them even smaller. So that, as soon as it was ironed, would be a traditional French or lingerie seam.